Mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey. Mayor Frey, what is your response to this breaking news that there are 1,500 active duty U.S. soldiers on standby to deploy to your state?
This act was clearly designed to intimidate the people of Minneapolis. And here's the thing. We're not going to be intimidated. If the goal here is safety, we've got many mechanisms to achieve safety. And the best way to get safety is not to have an influx of even more agents, and in this case, military, in Minneapolis. Right now, we have about 600 police officers, and they've got 3,000 or so ICE agents and Border Control. That they are now talking about deploying 1,500 military. This is, well, it's ridiculous, but we will not be intimidated by the actions of this federal government.
Earlier this week, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune editorial board wrote that your state is, quote, under siege, and compared the situation in Minneapolis to a, quote, military occupation. Is that how you see it? Is Minneapolis being occupied by the federal government?
Invaded, under siege, occupied, use whatever word or superlative that you want to attach, but the bottom line is what is taking place is designed to intimidate. It is not fair, it's not just, and it's completely unconstitutional. But one of the beautiful things that's taking place is that the people here in Minneapolis are not just resisting. They're standing up. They're standing up for their neighbors. They're loving people. They're making sure that they got a ride to the grocery store, a safe walk to their car. They're making sure that they have those basic necessities that they need, because we got a whole lot of people that are afraid to go outside at the risk of getting torn apart from their own families. And so in the face of a whole lot of adversity, I'm so proud to be from Minneapolis. I'm so proud to be the mayor of this awesome city with these extraordinary people. They're peacefully protesting. They're standing up for one another. And, like I said, it's not just going to be resistance here in this city. We're not backing down. We're not going to be intimidated.
You mentioned both resistance and peaceful protesting in what you just said. Where is that line between impeding what the officers are doing and obviously creating a physical conflict and peaceful resistance? Like, what do you tell your citizens to do so that they are resisting, in your view, but also not obstructing law enforcement from their duties?
Right. We have tens of thousands of people throughout the city that are peacefully protesting. Of course, they're marching. Of course, they're expressing their First Amendment rights. Yes, they are able to record what is taking place. I mean, that's part of their right as citizens of the United States. And no, ICE agents can't stop, nor can they hide from a recording that is taking place. And at the same time, the message is very clear that we are not going to take the bait. We will not counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos here. And we're not going to give them an excuse to do the thing that clearly they're trying to set up to do right now, which is these 1,500 troops. The fact that we're saying this out loud, Jake, is bizarre. I never thought in a million years that we would be invaded by our own federal government. Of course, there's different perspectives when a different party gets sworn into the White House. Of course, there are different ideologies throughout America. That's part of what makes our country great. But you don't get investigated for having a different opinion. You don't have militarized troops deployed to a city for having a different perspective or because a city happened to vote for the opposite party. That may be what happens in other countries, but it doesn't happen here. Here, this is America, and we've got to be standing up for these American values.
So you just alluded to the fact that the Justice Department said it's investigating you and Democratic Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota over alleged obstruction of federal law enforcement. Have you received any sort of official notice or subpoena? Are you even aware of what the specific allegations against you might be?
No, we have not received anything. I'm not aware of specific allegations, but if it were true, the targeting would be the product of performing one of the most basic responsibilities and obligations that I have as mayor, which is to speak on behalf of our great city, speak on behalf of our constituents, and that the federal government would be going after me because of that speech should be deeply concerning, not just for people in Minneapolis, but for anybody throughout the country. And of course, we've seen this before, whether it's me or Governor Walz or Senator Slotkin or Senator Kelly. This is happening on the regular, and it's happening because people speak up. But First Amendment speech is not something that we negotiate away in this country. First Amendment speech is something that we stand up for, whether you agree with it or not, whether you find it abhorrent or not. It's one of the most basic and foundational rights that we have, and thankfully in Minneapolis, we stand up and value First Amendment speech. That's just kind of baked into who we are.
Governor Walz has mobilized the Minnesota National Guard. He has not yet deployed them. I want to play something that you said earlier this week.
We have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another.
Literally fighting one another is pretty stark. Are you worried that that's where this is actually heading, with the National Guard and local police on one side in Minneapolis and active duty troops and ICE agents and other federal law enforcement on the other, actually literally fighting, physically fighting?
As I said then, and I'll say now, we can't have that in America. And so what we are hopeful for here is the judicial system to do its part, to see that necessary check and balance, to recognize that we can't have cities occupied in the United States that simply have a different view from the White House. Now it's Minneapolis, but importantly, and I want to talk to everybody throughout America, I know you love your family, your neighborhood. I know that you love your town, regardless of where you are. And just imagine what it would feel like if you suddenly had an administration, a deployment of troops, of agents come into your city by the thousands, vastly outnumber your police department, and cause chaos on your streets. If the goal here is to create peace and safety and calm, there's a very clear antidote here, which is leave. The second these ICE agents leave the city, I'm telling you, you're going to have calm in Minneapolis, and you will continue to see the great comeback that we had been experiencing. Let us get back to that comeback. Let us live in peace. Let us have businesses that are open and daycares where you don't need to escort staff to and from. Let us live in a place where, look, in Minneapolis, we'll stand up. If we have to sled down ice hills to get to a protest, we'll do that. If we've got to make sure that people are escorted to the grocery store, we'll do that. But truthfully, we want to get back to a place where we can just love on our city, do our daily activities, just like any other town in America.
So the position of the administration, first of all, a week ago, as you know, ICE released a list of 19 undocumented immigrants that they said they picked up in Minnesota. They've been convicted of crimes ranging from sexual assault and child abuse to murder. The White House border czar, Tom Homan, said they need to pick up those dangerous individuals. And he said specifically that you can fix this issue today. Take a listen to what Tom Homan had to say.
We're arresting illegal aliens when we're out there looking for criminals. You want less collateral arrest? Then let us in the damn jail. Frey and Walz could fix this today. Let us in the jail so you can arrest a public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail rather than forcing us into the street to find these bad guys.
What's your response to that, sir?
I'm going to take the most easy position I think I've ever taken. Hey, in Minneapolis, we're anti-murder. Second most easy position, we're anti-rape. Third most easy position, we're anti-crime. You can't do those things in Minneapolis, and if you do, we investigate them. We prosecute, you charge, you arrest, and you put the people in jail. And by the way, we have partnered extensively with the federal government to get the perpetrators of violent crime off our streets, and we've seen great success in doing that. In fact, on the north side, one example, we worked with the ATF and the FBI and the DEA and a number of different entities to successfully drive down shootings to record lows. So do we partner to get the bad guys? Of course we do. Here's what we don't partner on. We don't partner to just yank random people off the street because they happen to look Latino or they happen to look Somali. We don't partner to do constant checks of passports, requiring people to bring their passport or all this identification around with them all the time. I mean, that's not America. Not to mention, I want our police officers not hunting down a father who has done nothing wrong. I want our police officers working to stop violent crime and prevent carjackings and do all this, the basic stuff that you need to do in a city. And so, no, I don't think Holman understands the basic dynamic as to how stuff works in Minnesota here. But the bottom line is, as we know, this is not about safety. It's not about crime. This is about intimidation. And in Minneapolis, we're not going to be intimidated.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.